In this module, we would be talking about the sample statistics. Now, students, we have learned that statistical inference is the process of drawing conclusions or inferences for the population from the information contained in the sample. So, the basic problem is to estimate the population parameter. Population parameter is unknown to us, and we would have to estimate it from the information contained in the sample. So sample को describe करने के लिए we use that term sample statistic. Now students, a sample statistic, which is a function of one or more random variables that is being measured or computed from a sample data. Let us talk about some examples of a sample statistics. Sample statistics, for instance, are denoted as X bar, where X bar is the sample mean. Similarly, we may be talking about sample variance, which is another type of sample statistic, and we used to denote it by S square. Similarly, there is another example of the sample statistic, which is known as sample correlation coefficient R. Now, my dear students, we would be using these sample statistics to estimate the unknown population parameter. Sample statistics, they vary from sample to sample. Why? We have said that the population is always fixed and it is constant because population is only one. But we used to take up various samples out of a population. So for each population, students, if we would be, for a single population, if we would be having various kind of samples, for instance, so her sample may say, when we will be drawing the sample statistics, we would be getting the different results for each sample. So we can say that sample statistics are random in nature because they are varying from sample to sample. So if sample size would increase, that will, decrease the variability within the sample statistic. Because we don't want कि हमारा जो sample statistic है उसमें बहुत ज़्यादा variability हो. So in that case, if we would have to reduce the variability within the samples, so हमें sample size को increase करना होता है. Let us take some examples of the samples and that of the sample statistics we will be drawing from those samples. First of all, I'm talking about an example, a random sample of weights of 500 females in a locality. Now, my dear students, if we talk about a locality, there will be many people residing in the locality. For example, there might be, 1 million or 100,000 people who are residing in a locality. So, उस locality में से हमने choose किया है 500 females का sample. और उस sample के लिए हम calculate करेंगे weights. अब weights में से क्या sample statistic हम calculate करने जा रहे हैं, my dear students? Sample statistic जो हम इसमें calculate करने जा रहे हैं, that is average weight of 500 females. So keeping in view कि जो 500 है, that is our sample size. So इस particular sample of weight of the females में से we are interested in calculating the average weight. So this average weight, students, will be denoted by X bar. इसी तरह से let us take another example. If we are talking about annual income of 100 employees of a company. Now we may expect that there will be more employees in a company. That may be 1,000 for instance, or there may be 500. So what we are interested in, we are interested in calculating the variations in the annual income of those 100 employees of the company. So students, यहाँ पे हमारा जो sample statistic है, that is no more average. Here we might be talking about S square, calculation of S square, which is one kind of sample statistic, or we may be talking about small s square. So students, I would be telling you later that there is a difference between the two kind of sample variances. इस sample variance को हम कहते हैं biased sample variance, and this particular sample variance is known as unbiased sample variance. Now let us take another example of a sample. The next example is a sample of 1,000 voters in a particular city. Now in that city, we may have many voters. For instance, there are like 100,000 voters in that city. So हम एक sample उसमें से draw कर रहे हैं 1,000 voters का. Now what kind of sample statistic this time we are interested in? Students, अगर आप देखिए last में हमने किया है sample proportion of voters who cast their vote. So हमारा जो variable of interest है वो लोग हैं जो अपने वोट को कास्ट कर रहे हैं. So इस केस में हमारा जो sample proportion है that is our sample statistics, which may be denoted by P hat. So students, we have learned that what is the difference between the population parameter and the sample statistics. So sample statistics are usually used to describe the sampled information. So sample statistics are of different types. They might be sample mean. We might be interested in calculating the sample variance, or we may be interested in calculating the sample proportion or the sample correlation for that matter.